folks, and welcome to Back 4 Blood. Now, this game is currently in closed beta. By the time you're watching this video, it's probably into open beta. So the idea behind the game is you have a selection of characters that you can play as. Each have a kind of a trait, shall we say. The character I selected was the mom of the group, and she could revive somebody kind of instantaneously, fully up for, I think it was once per sort of turn, something along those lines, right? There's no audio in the background because this is from a stream and I don't want to confuse you with double audio. So today I wanted to do a video where I chat about my thoughts and feelings with Back 4 Blood, because I know a few people are interested in this. So the general gist of the game is it has these card systems. As you progress and as you build through the game, you're going to be given cards that allow you to basically buff up your team, yourself, and as you can see, like your weapons. Now, the card system, I'll say straight off the bat, didn't really impress me as I zip up this case. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with that. I didn't think like, oh, why is this here or why is this not here? It just felt a little bit how do I word this? It didn't feel fully fleshed out. It felt like the card system was kind of like flat health damage, flat health damage, flat health damage. That's the way it kind of kept coming across. Stamina. Now, it's okay, but it didn't excite me. I didn't think about the deck building system as some incredible thing, because that's what this is. You get to build, as you collect cards, a deck, which can then be sort of brought out on your next run. Now, as the game gets more harder, you're obviously going to have to combine your decks, and maybe certain cards work with certain characters well. And it's not nearly a new concept, and I wouldn't say it's something that Back 4 Blood have absolutely nailed here. It works, it's okay, it does add a bit of depth, but again, it didn't really excite me. That was my first takeaway from the game. Was it visually it looks really good. I played in 1440p maxed. It ran really well. Just as a note, if you want to know some benchmarking details, then head over to my second channel called The Zone. It'll be linked in the description, and there'll be a bit more of technical analysis in terms of performance, graphics, etc. Now, on to just general thoughts and feelings. This was my first encounter with the large ogre, and what we're doing here is we're playing this on the beginner mode, and the reason we're playing it on the beginner mode is because you want to collect your cards. So you want to run through the campaign, once on beginner, collect a load of cards, move up through the difficulties. Now, the thing that I guess was a little bit off-putting, I would say, about the game itself was the fact that easy mode was in fact too easy. And you're going to be like, well, obviously it's easy mode. What are you talking about? Well, the point is, I think you can make a game easier, but also still make it jam-packed and fun. So this game, when you put it on easy mode, there's just basically a lot less monsters. That's kind of what it is. Now, what I would have liked to have seen is that still influx of hordes and waves of zombies attacking you just made them a lot weaker, maybe slower. Give the player that wants to play on easy an opportunity to feel like there is waves and waves of creatures coming at you, and not that there's just 1 to 2 guys. When we ran through the campaign the first time on the easy difficulty, not only was it easy, it actually really sort of painted the game in a very bad light. Playing this on the easier mode basically lowers all the zombies, like I've said. It stops the big waves pushing you, and it just didn't feel like I was playing anything special. And I think a lot of people might make the mistake of playing this game on easy, running through it, and just been like, okay, is that it? Now, as you crank up the difficulty, you will get fully surrounded. You'll have to think about the position you hold. The bosses and the monsters actually take time to take down, and they're going to deal a lot of damage. You're going to have to revive people. You can see here the game visually looks very, very good. I'm playing online with my group. We're a team of 4 here. We've each got our own perks. As we're going through the level, we're finding loot, we're finding ammo. We're also finding coins and kind of currency that you can then use to buy in the shop to upgrade your gun. So I'm using like a rifle. I have a secondary. I end up with it's kind of like a shotgun with a sniper scope on it. I really did think that I liked that aspect of the game. Going around looting, and you can see me jumping around here. The reason I was jumping around here was I was just explaining just quite how fluid the gun feels. That is not the first like big tell for me, like, oh yeah, this is a pretty decent game. It felt very, very fluid, and it ran well, and it looked good. So off the bat, like I'm thinking, okay, I'll give this game a chance, because some games it just runs so poorly, it looks so average that I'm like, do I even want to give this game the time of day? Like, there are plenty of other games I can play, but this game actually looked and played really, really well. The gun mechanics felt good, felt responsive. It felt like you can shimmy around. This might be a kind of a weird one, but if anyone's ever played Call of Duty 4 Pro Mod on the PC, it kind of felt like that, which is strange to say, but it did have that Source-esque Call of Duty Pro Mod kind of feel. Now, I don't believe it's on the Source engine, but it felt very, very good. Okay, so moving on, we obviously have, what kind of game is it? Well, it's your typical zombie horde game. As you can see, we're taking these guys down, shoot them in the weak spot, and on easy mode they fall relatively quickly, but I just want to push through this just to show you a variety of footage. You've got your shotguns, we're picking up coins. You can see that it looks very, very gory. You know, it looks good. But I was just getting an overall sense of, and I'll tell you, just to be honest, as this channel always is honest, and you can let me know in the comments below, after playing it for a little bit, and even playing it on the harder difficulties, I did feel like, okay, this ramped up really, really well. I like this. But as I carried on playing it, I just thought to myself, this is Left 4 Dead 2.5. Now, some of you are going to love that, because Left 4 Dead, there hasn't been one out for ages. This is modernized. You can aim down sights in this game. There is a little card system. It visually looks good, and there's a load of new missions, and it's a good laugh. You play this on a medium to hard difficulty with a group of friends and play through it. It's on Game Pass. You're going to have a great time. I can tell you are. So I'm not going to knock the game and say, oh, this is some trash game that you shouldn't play, because actually it was an enjoyable experience, and I think that's good to note, right? It's good to tell people that there are games out there that give you an enjoyable experience. The concern I have with this game, and it's not necessarily a concern in the fact of, oh, this game won't succeed because of it. It's just more of a note. It feels like Left 4 Dead 2.5, and it feels like the game could have released 6 years ago. That's the honest truth. It feels like it could have come out 6 years ago. I don't see any innovation, really, if I'm being honest. I don't see anything that takes Left 4 Dead 2 and levels it up to a whole new thing where you're like, oh, wow, this is the reason why this game has waited, we've waited so long for this game. No, what this feels like is kind of exactly what it is. The Left 4 Dead 2 team were probably sick of waiting for Valve to let them make Left 4 Dead 3 or whatever the case may be. And they've just decided, okay, let's form our own team and let's make kind of a Left 4 Dead-esque game. And that's honestly, like, unfortunately, like, what I've got to say about this game. It's not a bad game. In fact, it was enjoyable. So it feels weird to be like, it was a lackluster game, but enjoyable. But I think those two things can fit together somehow. So you can see it counts like the amount of people you kill, you earn supply. Your supply points go towards cards. I did have a few issues in the beta where it would kind of kick me out and I'd lose my progress, but that's just beta things. But what you would see is, if we skip on to some more gameplay here, you can purchase Molotovs, different upgrades for your guns, kind of firecrackers are kind of like the monkey that claps in zombies mode. It distracts them. You get going, you tell your team, all right, come on, let's break out the safe house. We're ready. We're good to go. You get in this jungle. As you put on much harder difficulties, there'll be swarms and swarms and swarms of monsters coming towards you. And it was fun. But here's what I was thinking the whole time. Me and my friends were just talking about it. We're like, this isn't bad. Gun sounds are good. runs well, looks all right, but I just felt like this game could have released 6 years ago and it wouldn't have lost anything. It doesn't feel like it's an incredibly modern game or an incredibly innovative game. It's just kind of a game that's just released and there isn't anything quite like it for maybe console, or maybe people don't know about it. But when I think about the game, if you've ever played the game Vermintide, which is reviewed on my channel, I'll link it above with a card. Vermintide is very similar to this. There are waves of people pushing you. You have kind of upgrades and potions and things to drink, and you fight your way through. And if I'm being honest, I much more enjoyed Vermintide 2 than I did playing this. Vermintide 2 looked visually superior with its textures. It had a much deeper lore and a much deeper sort of variety of monsters, and they all felt fresh and new. But when I played this game, even though I'm on easy, I have experienced it on hard mode, it just felt like, yeah, this is like get on top of a box, hold a position. Sometimes you get surrounded. You're going to upgrade your guns. You're going to find some things. And it's a strange one for me to review, and that's why I'm posting it to the channel, because I want to know what the loyal Zicarios think about this game, because it was a mixed bag. On the one hand, great game. It worked relatively well. Everyone that I spoke to kind of enjoyed the game. There was no grumblings about it. But also everybody that I spoke to kind of felt the same way. Like, yeah, this just feels like Left 4 Dead 2.5 that could have come out 6 years ago. It just doesn't quite feel... It just feels like it's missing that little bit of something. Now, maybe that little bit of something will be added from the time of closed beta to release. An example here is like, if you're on the harder difficulty, there's waves and waves and waves, and there's more bosses being pushed at you. You know, like you would have, I think it was like, was it the witch in Left 4 Dead? This was kind of like you had the one guy that would spew acid at you. You know, you can see here my character's covered in blood. When you get into the safe house, everybody's covered in blood. But I just felt like, yeah, if you, with no disrespect to the game, it feels like what it is. It feels like Left 4 Dead 2.5 that is going to come out on Game Pass. People are going to enjoy it, but it's not going to win any sort of long-term awards. It's not going to be a game that people speak about in 10 years' time and go, oh, do you remember the first Left 4 Dead? Or, oh, do you remember the first Gears of War? Or the first, you know, oh, do you remember Halo 3? Or I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's just going to be a game that occupies people for a few months. People enjoy it, and then we all kind of forget about it. Now, maybe I'm entirely wrong. This is what this is. This is people's gaming opinions. That's why I made this channel. We're all entitled to our own opinions. We can all have different thoughts. And I'm in no way saying that the game is rubbish or not fun. But I was just hoping for a little bit more. It's a game that I'm going to pick up and play. And it's a game that if someone said, hey, do you want to hop on Back 4 Blood and play for a little bit? Yeah, I would. But I guess it just didn't excite me. And I was hoping to be like, oh, this is like Left 4 Dead where you're filling up the car mission. And I know it's in a closed beta, and I know they probably don't want to show off their best missions. But it just felt a little bit, you know, grab the gasoline, throw the gasoline and shoot it, and the zombies are going to run into it. It just felt a bit contrived. To note, one of my actual only real critiques for the game was the voice lines. The characters had such unbelievably cringe, over-the-top bad voice lines that it kind of made me wince at times. It just feels like a game that's been released, and it's like, is this what we waited for? You know? So that honestly is my initial impressions for Back 4 Blood. I feel like I'm playing Left 4 Dead 2.5. There's a card system in there it's okay. It's not great detail. It's not like there's some amazing passive skill tree like a Path of Exile, or, you know, even like a Remnant for the Ashes. You know, you get into the safe house, everyone's covered with blood. You know, on the harder levels, you're like, oof, we survived. I did like the idea that throughout the game, you get you basically get 3 goes to complete the game. And after 3 goes, you're kind of out. I did like that aspect. I just felt like I enjoyed it. It was okay. It's going to be a Game Pass game that's going to fill somebody's time for a little period. But I don't think it's anything to shout from the rooftops from. So that was my opinion and thoughts on Back 4 Blood. Let me know what you think in the comments below.